Greetings. My name is Rich Frazee, and I'm excited to give you a quick tour of Appreciation and History of Music, a course offered through the University of Wisconsin's Independent Learning Program. I've been teaching this course for a while, and last year I had the opportunity to revise, to make a new version. I collaborated with Jessica O'Neill, instructional designer, and Nick Meyer, media manager. Jessica and Nick were both outstanding to work with. We overhauled the videos, we reworked the assignments, and something I'm most excited about, we centered the course around a new open educational resource, free and accessible to anyone, that I authored as the course's text. It's linked in the video description. To provide a quick overview of the course, in Appreciation and History of Music, we study the basic elements of music, things like melody, harmony, rhythm, etc. We spend a lot of time learning about European classical music going back over 1,000 years, and we also study music examples from around the world, various forms of popular music, and new trends in music. Some of the musicians are very well known, Beethoven, Bessie Smith, the Beatles, but many are brand new for most students. Beyond learning about these musicians, we also spend time thinking about this music, trying to notice key characteristics or aspects of the music, and putting into words how they're responding to it, what we think about it. It's one thing to be able to say, I like this music, or I don't like this music. It's another to be able to put into words, I really like the shape of these melodies, the feel of these rhythms, or the colors I'm hearing from the instruments. We also make connections, seeing who has influenced and shaped what kinds of music, and also ponder how concepts from the past are relevant today. And along the way, we learn new ways to discover new music and find reliable music sources online. While we geek out on music, it's designed so anyone, regardless of how much or little they've studied music, can thrive. We make these connections, reflections, and discoveries through various graded activities, discussions, quizzes, and short essays. Let me show you an example. There's a graded discussion in Unit 2, where we examine music of the Middle Ages and Renaissance. First, students use a website that recommends new music based on their favorite musicians. They start by getting suggestions about Middle Ages and Renaissance musicians, but then students can input their favorite music of any time and genre and get new suggestions. They compare and contrast what the musicians they listed and the recommendations they received, and then they evaluate those connections. We use music of the past as a starting point to compare music, and then get music recommendations of any style. We also use discussions to share connections between music and visual art. For example, in Unit 3, students post pictures of Baroque artwork and try to draw stylistic parallels to the music of the era. For these activities, we assign points to make sure they're done, but the assignments are low stakes, encouraging exploration without the pressure of a major assessment. In the written essays, students practice writing about how they're hearing and reacting to music. Writing about music can be difficult, but it gets easier with time. And these activities help the students notice more details about the music, not just from the class, but whatever they like to listen to. I'll next talk about building connections and interactions. Something important to know, this independent learning course is designed to be completely asynchronous. There are no scheduled class times. Additionally, the courses are open enrollment. Students can enroll at any time of year, and students choose their own deadlines as long as they complete the course within 6 to 12 months. I love the setup. When I grade a stack of papers, it's rarely all from the same unit, and I love the flexibility it offers students. But I have to be very intentional with providing interaction. Much of the instructor interaction comes from the feedback I provide on students' essays, which forces me to be very specific and clear in what I'm addressing, in providing encouragement, and also providing clear ways on how students can build upon what they've already accomplished. Additionally, students interact with each other in the message boards, comparing and contrasting their own experiences with their classmates and sharing what they've learned from each other's posts. Now, it's possible that they're commenting on the post of a student who long ago finished the course. But by including their comments in the discussion, in addition to sharing what they've learned, They're building a collective resource of knowledge and insights that present and future students can learn from. I also engage with my students via video. I personally love instructor created videos as they're a great way to remind students that the instructor is a living, breathing person who cares about them and not just a computer program that lives in the online course. We used video not to duplicate the facts from the textbook, but rather to introduce ideas and offer additional insights. Here's a sample of me talking about some of the basic elements of music.
Let's start with rhythm. Rhythm organizes music into time as recurring beats. This includes tempo. Is the music fast or slow?
Swept away, I'm stolen. Let the sky fall and it crumble.
I was also excited that we included reaction videos. Throughout the course, students are writing about how they're hearing and reacting to music, and we created videos of me modeling that process. Here's a sample of me reacting to a particularly abstract example of modern music.
Regarding pitch and melody, this feels disjointed. It's kind of jumping all over the place. Extreme lows, extreme highs, sometimes single notes, sometimes chords. We have like a few strings of more connected notes, but it's almost like bum 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 bum. Again, with more dissonant pitches that I'm singing, but it's almost like we have different pairs of notes. It's almost like we have different pairs of notes that are like playing catch or passing the ball to.
We also used videos to provide annotations, explaining what's happening at key moments of a piece of music, and to offer some fun pop quizzes, not tied to their grades, but as an opportunity for students to stop and think.
What musical feature do you hear in this Renaissance piece? If you answered B, you got it right.
I'm especially proud of the open educational resource and how it was incorporated into this new version of the course. I was previously using a published textbook. It was a fine textbook, but like any textbook, it was expensive. Additionally, I teach a general degree requirement, and I'm introducing key concepts and people to students and encouraging students to use that as a starting point for their own ideas they'd like to research. We didn't need extensive information, just enough to cover the basics and make them curious to learn more. And with YouTube and other music streaming services being so commonplace, nearly any piece of music can be easily accessed for free. This is a much different situation to back in the day when I was in college, where listening to the expensive CDs that came with a textbook might be the only way to access these music examples. In addition to the cost as an instructor, with the old text, I frequently had students simply having trouble registering with the publisher to purchase and access the material. I don't know if your students often have trouble acquiring specific versions of text, but for me, it got to a point where I thought, I could save myself and my students a lot of time with this course if the course just had an OER that I could share. Additionally, in most music textbooks, there's a problem with a lack of representation. As I mentioned earlier, much of my course centers on European art music going back to over 1,000 years ago. This covers a period of time where the vast majority of people in positions of influence and powers, from rulers to composers whose works are still remembered, were white males. Now, I'm a white male composer and I have nothing against learning about white male composers. We do a lot of that in this course. But there were women and composers of color during these time periods making really great music and sharing really great ideas of music. Why would we not want to learn about their stories too? I want my students, regardless of gender or race, to also be able to see themselves reflected in the course material. There is a small challenge in that there isn't the same amount of readily available scholarship and recordings about composers from less represented demographics compared to Bach and Beethoven, but these people still exist, and the fact their works were preserved for centuries, I mean, how else would we know about them today? Serves as a reminder that these are stories that are worth telling. This OER creation process was admittedly a 5-year process. I started with an outline of topics, people, and music I wanted to include, and I added ideas as they came to me. I was fortunate to receive a mini grant through the institution I teach through, the University of Wisconsin-Superior. This inspired me to flesh out the ideas I'd been collecting, finding some open sources, and writing the rest, one chapter at a time. Now, each unit highlights, at the very least, one woman composer and one composer of color. I still have more I want to do, and I should emphasize that the increased diversity is a starting point, not an end goal, but I can always incorporate more in future editions. I currently have something that I like more than the purchased textbook, and that makes me feel good. I recently connected with Jessica O'Neill and Nick Meyer to get their instructional design and media perspectives on favorite developments from this revision. Here were Jessica's highlights. We incorporated an OER text and music samples to reduce cost barriers. We made music selections more diverse and added more representations of non-Western culture. We created reaction videos to show students how an expert, the instructor, approaches listening to music for analysis to serve as a model for students before they do their own listening and analyzing to increase student confidence. We created annotated videos of music selections to also help students learn more about what they should notice as they listen to a piece of music. We added engaging trivia style questions to the unit review videos, and we revised the discussion prompts to encourage students to connect music from long ago to today, for example, opera. Here were Nick's highlights. We had 5 distinct video types that were developed for the course, including a course introduction, unit introductions, unit reviews, music reactions, and music annotations. The videos for the course were meticulously planned, with content scripted to maintain a consistent format across various video types. They are professionally recorded in a dedicated media studio where a unique visual style was developed, incorporating elements like specialized lighting, props, and more. As the instructor, I came into the studio and they made me feel like a rock star with how awesome everything was prepared. It was great. In the post-production phase, we strategically analyze the scripts to identify opportunities for enhancing the learning experience through the addition of motion graphics, images, and sound, implementing these elements where beneficial. Well, that's my quick tour of appreciation and history of music. I hope it sparked some ideas that you might be able to use in your own course. If anything resonated, or if you have cool ideas you're wanting to share, find me on social media. I'd love to connect. Happy lifelong learning, everybody.